Welcome to Transformation with Martine. Martine Emmons is a transformational life coach who broke free from childhood abuse, sexual trauma, and overcame cancer to become a powerful force of healing and hope for others. Martine describes traumatic events as fierce emotional tsunamis. They can leave impending doom and destructive tidal waves of emotions that hit you when you least expect it. Martine helps her clients dive into the depths of their trauma and pain as she stands fiercely advocating for them to shine a light on those experiences and find the lesson in the pain. She serves as a beacon of hope that guides you to see the strength, lessons, and purpose that can be born from the pain. You can feel alive with purpose again when you awaken your dormant strength, step into your power with a sense of peace, and discover a new wave of hope with the right tools and support. Martine and her guests are here shining their lights today through empowering stories of hardship and transformation to inspire you to find hope and to see that there is a beautiful blue ocean of serenity, happiness, and fulfillment in your future. Transformation with Martine starts now.
Welcome everyone to Transformation with Martine. This is where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. Friday, my favorite day of the week. For those of you who don't know, my show is every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And my show is about overcoming and the resilience of the whole human spirit. And the guests that I invite here on my show are like me. You know, we've overcome a lot and we're here to tell our stories, and we're here to tell you that no matter what a diagnosis you're given, abuse that you've been through, no matter what, you can get back up. My guest today is proof as well. Her name is Krysta Lee, and I'm so excited to have you today. Welcome, Krysta.
Oh, thank you so much, Martine. It's an absolute pleasure for me to be here with you today.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you very much. And you've got quite the story. Do you want to share with us how everything even just started out? It's phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you. I would love to share my story. As life stands now, I am a woman, an entrepreneur, a mother. I have two beautiful children. I live in Ontario, Canada, in Prince Edward County, and I live a very fulfilling and happy life. And growing up, it was a little bit different for me. So just the quick backstory of my past was I was born with spina bifida, and that's something where it was challenging in the sense that my spinal cord was developed on the outside of my vertebrae. And so I had gone undiagnosed for about 9 months before I had my first surgery. And it was really interesting because my body had kind of like developed a lump of fatty tissue on the bottom of my back that my mother said I would really get upset every time it would get touched. And she'd bring me to the doctors and they couldn't figure out what was wrong and said, oh, it's probably nothing. You're just a paranoid new mother, nothing to worry about. Anyway, needless to say, after 3 specialists that I saw, they told me I needed immediate surgery. I had it done. I was told, well, my mother was told that I would probably never walk. I'd be in a wheelchair. I would probably not have control over bodily functions and would be in diapers for life. And she worked with me every day, day in and day out. And by a miracle of God, she was able to help me learn not just how to walk, but of course, be fully functional, no problems. I learned to dance. She put me in dance at 3 years old. And so that was like my first experience in life with miracles and the power of healing and mindset and all these things. And then fast forward a little bit of time, in my youth, my dad was diagnosed with cancer when I was about 9 years old, 8 or 9, and he passed on when I was 11. And that was, of course, another extremely traumatic, challenging time for my family and I. And 3 months after that, I was diagnosed with scoliosis, which is very common for people that have spina bifida. Apparently, like 75% of people that are born with spina bifida eventually develop scoliosis later in life, which is where my spine just kind of coiled up and just was going left, right, front and back. And again, I needed another surgery, this time to fuse 3 titanium rods to my spine with all the hardware and the screws and nuts and bolts and all the things. in order to straighten me out, because it was quite severe. I had like 45-degree curves, and I was like a hunchback once I hit puberty. It really changed everything. So that was difficult. Again, like in my early teenage years, I had to wear a back brace before the surgery for like a year and a bit, which was very difficult in middle school, as I'm sure you can imagine with kids and the things that they can say and do at that stage in life.
100%.
But again, I persevered, even though I was scared as you could possibly imagine, because they told me I might not be able to walk, like a 50% chance, just because of how severe the surgery was. It was a 14.5-hour surgery, so all day into the evening. And luckily, again, I had some miracle workers working on me, and they took care of me, and I was fine, and everything was fine, and I could still dance and do all the things afterwards, which was still my biggest passion, right, at the time. So yeah, and then after that, I went through my teenage years and got into a relationship that wasn't the healthiest, and I stayed in a little bit too long, and that lasted about 7 years. Eventually, I broke free of that, and then later on met my now husband, DJ, and that's when my life really started to turn around. I had taken some time for myself in between and really started to dive into the self-development, personal development, healing past traumas, inner child work, things like that. And so from there, my life really took a different trajectory. And I did have a couple more speed bumps along the way, but nothing too severe. I was able to heal my body with a couple of things that had come up, like during pregnancy and things like that. But yeah, overall, I was really lucky. I did have a couple of miscarriages before I got pregnant, which was a bit of a bump in the road. And I was told that I would probably never have kids. But at that time, like I mentioned, I was doing a lot of inner healing, and I was so focused on manifesting the life of my dreams that even though it was a very small percentage that I would have been lucky or, had these miracles happen, they happened. And I totally attribute it to having this positive mindset that I think came from overcoming so many obstacles as a young girl initially.
Absolutely. To go back like to the beginning of your story, I had a guest on 2 weeks ago, and he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
Wow.
And he was given like the same kind of like, talk, like, oh, he's never going to walk. He's never going to be able to do anything, basically. And his mom's like, no. And she was a warrior for him. And it sounds like your mom was the same.
Yes, absolutely. And by gosh, there's nothing that can stop a mom when she's got her goal or her mindset on something for her babies. I believe that 1,000%. I just got spirit bumps just thinking about it.
Right. And you know it, and I know it, right? We're moms.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to stand in my way. My kids are older than yours now, but it doesn't matter what age they are. Mine are 17, 22, and 17, 21, 23. There's nothing, it doesn't matter what age they are, that I'm not going to fight for them. And I am sure you're the same.
1,000%. Yes. I feel that in my bones. Totally. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it's so important. So as you're going through these things, like, first having the spina bifida, of course, you were very young then. You don't really have a, understanding, but your mother did. But by the time that you were diagnosed more with a scoliosis, I'm sure you had more of an awareness then of what was going on. How did that feel inside? Did it feel kind of defeating? I'm trying to think of that age, and I went through different things that you did at that age, and the awareness is kind of there, but not to the degree as it would be, say, now.
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. It did feel defeating. There was times where I felt like, no, like this is like, how is this happening to me? Like you said, I don't really recall very vivid memories of being 9 months old and going through what I first went through. But at that time, my mom had told me the story over and over again, and it was drilled in my mind about like this whole, like miracle that I was. She's like, oh, you're in the miracle books for the studies here and all these things. I was like, how is this happening to me again? Like, I don't understand. But I think because I was so focused on the outcome, like I was so determined that like I had like a grade 8 dance that I wanted to do for school, like already like planned in my schedule. And I was just so really, really looking forward to that. Even though I did feel defeated initially, I think we kind of go through stages, almost like the stages of loss and grief and things,
100%.
right? Like, yeah, it was the same thing. And I processed it. And I remember like I spent a lot of time in solitude because like, especially after the surgery, there was not much that I could do. I was bedridden for a couple of months, and my mom had to help like turn me over and go to the bathroom, like all the things. So, but I had a lot of time to really process and focus in on it. And even though I did feel defeat, I chose to be the victor instead of the victim. And that was my mindset. I had to stay focused, and I really wanted to achieve those outcomes, and almost like this sense of like, I've got to prove them wrong. Like I've got to prove myself right, and I can do this. And this is my hill, and this is my journey, and I'm going to write this story. And thank goodness it worked out. I'm so lucky.
Oh gosh. And and you think about what you were just saying, it's like, even though you were so young then, but the story was drilled into your head by your mom, that creates evidence, right? It shows you that you've done something before, you can do this now. I've had a lot of things happen to me, but when I got cancer, it's like, whoo, that was quite the diagnosis, but I beat it. And now I'm going through another health challenge. And even though it's hard, it's very hard, I know I can do it because I've done it before. And that's everything,
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Wow. I love that you said that. Like the evidence is everything, especially as humans. I think we really, sometimes need to see it before we believe it. And even though like I believe in the manifesting and the power of like law of attraction and all these things to believe it, and then we'll see it. But human nature is kind of like this default of seeing first before we believe. And luckily you and I, we share that, and many people around the world share that. When there's hard evidence, you can't deny that it's possible to do it again and again and again. And it almost gets easier each time.
And each time that we do go through this, it's like, it's easier to kind of sit like, we could sit like, my dream is to have an ocean home, or a lake home. I'd like to have both, to be honest. So I picture myself there a lot. I really get into it and just feel the joy of the waves, and just playing out on the water, or if we're on the lake, then maybe out kayaking, thinking about these things. We can do this about our health too. Anything that we want to overcome, we can be thinking about like, hey, see, just like, I am healed and thank you for my healing, and just talk to ourselves that we did it. And there's a popular, I cannot think of his name at the moment, but he shared a story about his mom. This is quite a while ago. And when she was diagnosed with cancer, she took down all pictures, well, anything that wasn't quite positive, and put up pictures of her healthy self, put up her wedding pictures, put up everything that was just glorious to her, right? And that's what she focused on. And she beat it as well. And she was stage 4. She had months to live, and she made it. It's
incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I truly believe in the power of visualization, and I use it every day. And that's something that's so, so powerful. And sometimes we like almost forget about it. Like being in that state of feeling healthier, feeling the positive outcome. It's so powerful. And for me, like I do a lot of work around visualizing, because it's definitely a huge key to manifesting. For
Absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a break in just a moment, but where can people find you, and tell us like, who specifically do you work with?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So everyone can find me on my website at KrystaLee.com. That's KrystaLee.com. And I work with right now, mostly women, mostly mothers, and people that are looking to up-level their lives and really tap into their infinite power and heal and work towards success of all kinds. So that's my jam at the moment.
That's awesome. And you are proof that you can overcome anything and have any success that you want. You're proof of that. That must feel pretty spectacular.
Oh, thank you. It does. And it's really reaffirming, because I know I'm not the only one, and I've studied so many stories and done all the courses and read all the books. And I know like anyone is capable of doing this. And that is the greatest honor that I can do, is to share that with others and inspire them to do the same, because this is power that we all have the capability of tapping into.
Oh, absolutely. And doesn't it feel great? I love it. That's why I do the show, is to show other people and feature people like you that have done it. And that is like, it's kind of the same, like sometimes you don't believe in yourself, but somebody else believes in you, and you can borrow that. It's the same thing. People that might be going through something right now, they can borrow your story. Hey, she made it, so can I.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes,
so we're
I
going
love
to take a
that.
brief break. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine. This is where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. My guest today is Krysta Lee, and we've been talking about, overcoming, and we left off with visualization. And so, Krysta, we were talking about visualization and, in the form of like healing, overcoming, but also just manifesting what we want. Like for me as an ocean home, what do you want more than anything? And what is your practice?
Oh, I love that. Oh my goodness. What would I want more than anything? I'm very much like you. I love the water. I would love to have a home on the water, whether it's the ocean or a lake.
Uh-huh.
We're definitely on the same vibe there for sure. And that's something that I'm working on manifesting. I actually
Yeah.
have two different dream boards. So one is a professional one and one is my personal. And
Okay.
yeah, I've got that up there. And one day it will happen. We'll have to
Oh,
come back and circle
absolutely.
back once we've achieved these goals of ours, because that would just be so lovely. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and so my practice with visualization, I wanted to share a story that is pretty incredible. And again, for me, it was some really solidifying evidence. And it's more of a recent one that I had about 5 years ago now, when I was pregnant with my son. So again, I had mentioned earlier that I had a couple of miscarriages. And then when I
Yes.
finally did conceive with Jackson, I was diagnosed pretty early on with placenta previa. And
Oh,
that's when the placenta is covering the cervix. And the tech there, the ultrasound tech, was saying it was like fully covered, like pretty severe. My midwife had told me afterwards that if it hadn't moved in time for delivery, that I would I would have to have a C-section. And I really didn't want to have that. I had a home birth in my mind, planned in my
yeah.
mind,
Yeah.
because of my back and the surgeries that I've had and
Sure.
the titanium rods. I was not a candidate for an epidural because they literally couldn't get to my spine. So I would have to be put under, like put to sleep for the birth. And I really did not want to miss
Yeah.
this baby of mine.
Sure.
So I went home that day and I quickly just researched, placenta previa and
Mhm.
what should it look like, textbook perfect. How is it supposed to be when something like this is healed? And I literally went to work on my body. And every day I would lay there in bed and I would put my hands on my womb and I would just picture the placenta just ever so gently moving upward and upward, slowly, slowly each day. And a couple months later, I had a follow-up appointment. They wanted to check to see if it had in fact moved. And I remember that the tech was saying, she's like, it's completely disappeared. Like it's so far gone, it's off of my radar. And I was like, wow, like, yes, I did it. Cool. And then but I really
Yes.
wanted to know, I was like, can you find it? And please tell me like where it is. Cause in my mind, it was up at that top right-hand corner. And sure
Mhm.
enough, she found it. And that's exactly where it went. And I just got crazy spirit bumps because
Ah.
of all the places in the sphere of a womb that it could have gone, it was
Mhm.
right where I moved it with my mind. And for me, that just really solidified the power of visualization and positive
Yeah.
mindset and healing our body and all of these capabilities that we have with like energy work. And,
Mhm.
whether you feel it's like Reiki or matrix energetics, for me, it was just something that I was just doing naturally. And I just thought, wow, like this is it. Like this is proof. This is the proof. And it's so funny because like no matter how many times these things happen to me or I manifest these miracles,
Mhm.
it's still so surprising and like humbling and exciting, and it just never gets old. And I just really wanted to share that with your audience because it's something that was so simple and literally took just a couple of moments of intentional conscious time, and it literally moved mountains within, and it was just so amazing.
Isn't it amazing that a lot of the things in life are so simple,
Yes.
but you have to dedicate yourself to it? It's like you had to
Mhm.
take time to do that,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's really important. I'm going to share something in a minute, which I wasn't going to, but I'm going to. But first, I want to hit, on miscarriage. Isn't that the group you never want to be a part of?
Mm, it is.
Oh,
Oh, geez. I've heard of stories before of this happening, and I just it when it's a firsthand experience, it hits so much different. And like I'm an empath, so anytime that would happen to someone around me, I felt like I was feeling for them and I'd cry for them and mourn with them and all these things. But when it happens to you, it's definitely different. And for me, again, it was that feeling of defeat, especially because I had a couple of different family doctors over the years tell me that I would probably never get pregnant, or if I did, I would never make it to full term because of my back. And if I did, I'd have to have a C-section. So I just was like, no, like, it's just that feeling of defeat. And I think it's really, it's definitely difficult. And then the contrary, though, the polarity to that is like the absolute true love, gratitude, bliss in the miracle that be, like, you know, God willing that we do eventually have kids. And I had two, and I'm so lucky because I was able to have them both at home, all natural, no interventions. And it was just, I thank my lucky stars, because I think those were the two babies that tried to come through before, and they came through a little bit later. And I'm just so grateful and blessed.
Oh, I feel that. I feel that. And being empathic myself too, I feel for women. I've had clients, you know, that have gone through it. And even there's a special person in my life, one of my daughter's friends that I've known for ever. And it happened to her not that long ago. And, you know, she was devastated. She's gone on to have another one, but it's such a, you almost feel let down by your body, but really your body's just taking care of you. It wasn't the right time, you know, and it's just being able to see that takes a little bit, but able to see that it just wasn't the right time, and that, you know, God willing, you do have another child. Gratefully, I was able to have mine as well. But yeah, it's just a club you don't want to be a part of. It's not.
No. And I think too, it's so important that we do share these stories, because then it helps one another not to feel so alone, and that we do have a community here, even if we're not related or in the same circle. There's millions of women, billions of women around the world, I'm sure, that experience this, and talking about it really helps, and just making it more of like a normal thing, because it is common, and you know, it's something that we go through as women, but not always like in the public. Like, of course it's very private, and some women do want to keep it very private, but then for me, like, it was something that I chose to speak about because I just couldn't quite figure out, like, you know, why do we wait these 3 months before we announce that we're pregnant? Like, how come we don't just say right off the top, oh, I got a positive test? You know what I mean? It's almost like there's this weird taboo around it. And I'm working on breaking that, because like, I feel like a lot of women suffer in silence, and that's heartbreaking to me. I can't imagine like that women go through that. And they do, like, of course, if it's by choice, that's one thing, but if it's not, and women are scared to talk about it, I feel for them.
You know, and that just actually just brings me to the thought that there are so many things that are taboo, and it shouldn't be. We should be, because these are normal life circumstances, you know, that we should talk about it. Because gosh, I even remember my mom was very, and I was determined I would not be that way with my kids, and I wasn't, very closed about that. Sex was dirty. You don't talk about it. I didn't even know about my whole monthly cycle until a friend shared about it, you know, and I'm glad that the generations since me are talking more, because none of that should be hidden. It's all natural. It's all normal, you know, and we need a place to share. Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yeah. We need the community. It takes a village for many reasons.
It does, for sure. We have in one of my communities, I belong to two amazing communities. And one of them is we just use the hashtag Yana, you are not alone. And people need to remember that, because you're not alone. There's always somebody out there that's going to understand. And if you share your story, it's going to encourage others to share theirs as well. Yeah,
totally. I love that so much. I often use that hashtag too. So I didn't even know we were doing the same thing, and I didn't even know it. That's so cool.
Yeah. I heard it from Lisa Nichols to begin with. That's where I got it. I love her. She's one of my favorite mentors. Yeah. So I am just going to share this little bit just for anybody that it helps. And it was easier to share when I had cancer than it is this. I was just recently diagnosed with vitiligo, and it's devastating to me. It's devastating to me. And I've had a very hard time with it. And it was like about a year ago that it started, but it was diagnosed as something different. And I just thought, well, it's just going to take some time, to go away. And then I went and saw a specialist this past Monday. And on Monday, it was like one of those things. It's almost like, I don't know about you, Krysta, but when I go for my annual exams, with the gynecologist, I don't like that. It's just, it feels invading, even though I know her well and she's a wonderful doctor. I feel violated. Oh. And that's kind of how I felt with this exam, because they were examining every inch of me. Mm-hmm. And they even had a point where they're like, well, we have some interns. Do you mind them coming in? I said, no way. No way. No. This is hard enough for me to have you and your assistant looking at me than, other interns coming in. But the reason I am sharing this really is that don't always look at the internet, because vitiligo has no cure according to the internet. But there have been many people since I started doing my research that have cured themselves. I will be one of those.
Yes.
I will. Oh. And I'm grateful. It's not, you can see it if you look close enough, but it's not as visible as it might be to, say, someone with color. And I have had clients, and I know how hard it can be. I know how scary it is, how you almost don't want to show yourself, but there is a cure. And like anything else, you can visualize yourself healthy. You can take every action there is, eating the best food you can, exercise daily, pay attention to stress, and honor your body, because your body is telling you something's wrong. Pay attention to it. But you can cure. I know I will beat this.
Yes.
And I just want anybody out there to know you will too. No matter what you have, you can beat it if you believe it and you take every action you know how to do.
Yeah. Amen. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So I hope that's helpful to somebody, no matter what battle you're facing. So we're going to take a break again, and we'll be back to talk more transformation, whatever else we come up with. Thank you so much for listening. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine. This is where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. My guest today is Krysta Lee, and we've been talking about transformation in every single way, and visualization. And what we're going to go into, visualization is another way to, create peace, but also in visualization, we also need to take action. And sometimes what action means is actually slowing down a bit. Because of not just my diagnosis, but just needing some time to reflect. I am taking a bit of a sabbatical next month. So have you ever done that, Krysta? And how do you talk to your clients about it? I can go into what I do, but how would you talk to your clients about it? And what do you do to take that time when you know you need it? We as women have a hard time with it.
We do. It's so true, Martine. I think as women, we definitely just keep going and going and going. And I know for me, that's how I work. We were speaking a little bit earlier about human design, and I'm a generator. So I'm just constantly full of this life source energy that needs to be expelled and used up. And but I've also learned to balance that. I'm a Libra by trait, so I'm constantly trying to do the balance or harmonize with the downtime. I think it's so important for us to honor that. And I really commend you for doing that, because that's a sacred time for you that you can take to do whatever it is that you're wanting to work on, whether it's healing or spending time with your family or whatever it is. If we don't consciously take that action, and it is action to take time off or slow down or, rearrange life, whatever we're doing, if we don't take that conscious action, it almost gets taken from us. I think, we end up hitting burnout, and we'll get sick or something will come out, and the universe will find a way to slow us down if we're not listening to those little signals along the way. So there's definitely times in my life where I take a little hiatus here and there. And I think it's really wonderful and honorable to do, especially because it kind of we lead by example when we do such things. And for my clients, they're also understanding, and I encourage that in them as well too. Because we can't just go all the time. We can't just burn the candle at both ends and end up in the middle and keep going, we'll burn out. So luckily, the people that I work with are all just such incredible light workers and really understanding. And so for me, whenever I'm feeling the need to take a break, even if it's like a 10-day break or even off social media, I'll do that too. I'll take 10 days off and just completely disconnect. And it's so wonderful and powerful. And I think it's the least we can do for ourselves in these busy times. And if we have the capacity to go on a deeper journey, I think that's really amazing to do too. For me, I've done a couple of different retreats along my path, along the journey, and Vipassana was actually one of them. It was a 10-day silent meditation. My husband and I did about 7 years ago now, I think it was. On my own and really honor that space. And I think it's something everyone needs to do more of, even if it's just little bits here and there, but honor yourself, honor your intuition, and listen to those whispers, because those are our guides that are telling us to slow down and honor this sacred space that we have of time.
Oh, I agree. And that I don't know, to me, it's taken me a little bit more into my later years here to pay attention to that, because I am like you too. I'm just a go-getter. I'm always moving, always moving, always moving. And I don't know, my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and she never felt like she wasn't doing enough. She never had that mentality. Why I got that, I don't really know, but I've always been just go, 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 go. And it's only in the last several years, I don't know if it was my cancer diagnosis, maybe part of it, knowing that, well, if I don't pay attention, it's really going to knock me down, and that is true. Like what you're saying, it's like the universe is going to tell you when to stop. But if you take the time and, because your body gives you signs before it actually knocks you down flat, that you need to take some time. So if you listen and take that time, everything seems to run smoother anyway, right? I know that when I'm like really stressed and going, or even if I'm not stressed, but just going, if I just stop for a minute, take a couple breaths, then I'm just like, okay, let's go. Everything is like peaceful. I'm still active in my work, but it's peaceful. And I know that the more I pay attention to what my body, my mind, my heart, my soul tell me, the more messages I get. And I love that.
Yes, those messages, they come through as whispers. They don't shout. They don't stand at the rooftop and scream at us. They are very subtle. And I think it's so important to take that time to be still and calm, even if it's meditation. Like I practice meditation, and walking in the forest is a great time to do it. The shower, lots of whispers come through and great ideas come through in the shower. And if we do take that conscious time, it's pretty incredible and miraculous what can come through to serve us.
Yeah. It's interesting about that too. Like you say, walking in the forest, I go for a morning walk every morning. And sometimes I like to listen to, well, sometimes it's informative teaching things, but sometimes I just like to listen to like historical fiction or something like that. Yeah. And when I was out walking this morning, my mind's like, no, you're just gonna listen to me. You're not going to turn any of that on. I'm like, okay, I actually got some good ideas, It's like listening to that.
I love that. And good for you for listening. That's so great.
For paying attention.
That, right?
Yeah.
Like, distraction is such a huge thing that's going on in the world right now. We're constantly being distracted by whatever it is. And so to have that solitude, that quiet space, so that the mind clutter can kind of dissipate a little bit, and then we can like make room for source to come through and channel those incredible messages. It's so powerful. So good for you for doing that. I love that.
Absolutely. Thank you. So you mentioned a silent retreat with your husband. How did that go? That must be kind of strange.
Oh my gosh, it was so incredible. I had never done anything like it before. And it was recommended to us by a psychic friend of ours. We were going to her for some readings, and she's like, you guys need to do this Vipassana. She had done it when she was 18, and we were in our mid to late 20s, I guess, when we went. And it was so powerful. I went in like with a lot of background healing work that I've done on my own and with coaches and things like that. My husband went in completely blind. He had never done any meditating or anything like that before. So we were two pretty like opposite ends of the extreme spectrum. And we meditated for 12 hours a day.
Oh my
We ate
gosh.
all like vegan, very light meals, like no dinners, light breakfast. It was very cleansing. It was about an hour north of Toronto. So it was like in the middle of
Mhm.
nowhere on 100-acre woods.
Oh,
And it was in the summer, and it was actually like the most epic experience that I've ever had in my life. And literally no speaking, no eye contact, no journaling, even like no form of communicating, not even telepathy, like which my husband and I can do and
yeah.
put in. So we were literally separated and just on our own in this silent space for 10
Wow.
days, 10 nights. And it was just epic. And it's kind of a funny story because at the end of the retreat, you get to speak with everyone that's there, and it's divided into 50 women and 50 men. And so, of
Mhm.
course, my husband and I came together on that last evening. We were chatting, and it was so surreal to be speaking again and just
Yeah.
trying to share all of our epic downloads that we had along the way and this healing and learning and all the things. And we ended up conceiving in this little love patch out there, which was
Oh
so
my
funny. That's
gosh.
how our son, our rainbow baby came to be, which is
Uh-huh.
so, it's funny. It's so ironic, but
Oh my gosh.
really, really magical. And I learned like so many valuable lessons there that I could share here. But the one that's just popping out at me to share right now was this love patch that kind of happened by mistake. Every day after lunch, I would go and take a walk through the woods. And
Mhm.
I had this little spot that I had found, and I would just spell out the word love with, like, say, rocks or
Uh-huh.
moss or leaves, whatever I could find my hands on in nature.
Yeah.
Because normally I journal every day and all these things, and I couldn't. We weren't supposed to. So I
Yeah.
would just spell out the word love with like this material that day, and then that material the next day, and then like by the third day, I noticed there was other words of love being spelt with other things like flowers or tree bark or
Yeah.
whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh! So someone had discovered this little love patch and started adding to it, and then more women had discovered it and added to it. And it was so funny
Oh
because
my
like the path
gosh.
that I was on was only for the women, and the men's had theirs over there. So by the end of the 10 days, when we were allowed to speak to one another, um, people were going around being like, who started that love patch? Like, what, like, how did this come to be? I was like, oh my gosh,
Amazing.
like, so kind of shy. I was like, that was me, but I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I thought it was just me, myself, and I sitting there, like, working with nature. And it
Yeah.
turned into, I wish I could show you a picture here, but it
Gosh.
turned into like a couple of dozen different words of like people spelling out the word love in all these beautiful, beautiful pieces. And it lasted
Wow.
for 10 days, and it was just magical, so cool. And it's like we're all connected. We're also connected even when we don't know that we are. I never ran into anyone there. I never saw anyone go in that area the whole time I was
Wow.
there, but it really like showed me how we are all one. And
Mhm.
there's nothing that I can do to you that I'm not also doing to myself, and vice versa. And I think it's just so powerful because even when we're not speaking or communicating in any verbal, physical, sensory form, we are still communicating and speaking in these nonverbal sensory forms. So it's just
Wow.
so powerful, so
That
amazing.
is amazing. That is so absolutely cool. I would God, I would want so bad to journal these down, the downloads and stuff, because you don't remember stuff. No matter what age you are,
Right?
you don't remember things after a while. That I think that would have probably been the only part, because I could be silent for a long time. That wouldn't be a problem. But not being able to write, that would be tough. Is
So
there a
tough.
reason for that? Why they don't
Yeah.
want you to write?
Yeah, just not supposed to hold on to anything. Supposed to be just observing everything
Okay.
from an equanimous state. So completely
Hmm.
neutral. No left, no right, no up, no down. Just literally the observer and nothing more. No judgments, no passing of any
Hmm.
kind. Just literally observing, equanimous.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's way cool. Way
so
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to take a break again, everyone, and we'll be right back with some final thoughts. Thank you so much. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine, where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. My guest today, Krysta Lee, is here, and we have been sharing everything from overcoming to, gosh, resilience and, oh gosh, just visualizing a better life, and that we can get through everything. No matter what it is, we can get through it. So, Krysta, if someone were to say, I don't know if you love coffee shops or whatever, like I like walking to places. I love little pastries and goodies and everything. Walking to say a little shop or something, and you just happen to be chatting with someone, and a woman overhears you and just says, gosh, I really want to make some changes in my life. What would you tell them, and what tips would you share?
Oh, I love this. And I also do love coffee shops and little tea. So I'm very much like you in that sense too. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
And it's great to have those open conversations in those places because
For
like these are
sure.
things that we should all be talking about. I think like the more we share, the better we can be and grow and learn from one another. And I always say
Yeah.
sharing is caring. So I'm so
Yes, it
happy to
is.
share. Definitely it all starts at home. And for me, it's a personal work of practice, no matter what it is that we're doing. There is no end result or end goal as far as self-development and personal work goes. So the sky is limitless. It's ever evolving and changing and growing. And some of the tips that I like to do range from everything from journaling. Like I literally write every single day. I take time to get my thoughts down onto paper, whether it's, highlights of the day. I tend to stay focused on the positive things. I'll write down all the good stuff. And what my favorite parts were of the day or any lessons that I learned. If there was, say, a negative thing, I'll turn it into a positive spin. That's huge for me. And I do honor the negative. Like I do not practice spiritual bypassing by all means. Definitely when negative things come up for me, what I like to do is take time, go into a meditation, feel where it comes up in my body, process it, transmute it. I practice like sacred rage. If I need to go out and just scream at the top of my lungs, I'll do that on my own time. I'll go into the forest and send it out to the trees, and the trees send me back the positive energy, just like we breathe out carbon dioxide, they breathe it in and give us oxygen. It's this beautiful flow. And I find it so healing. Being in nature, that's one of my go-tos whenever I'm needing to practice a positive mindset or just release. I also work with sage and Palo Santo, so like clearing energy space and then inviting spirit in, like just positive, good energy. I love working with crystals, so I'm always wearing like crystals on my wrists and around my neck. Balancing chakras and things like that, because I really do believe that we're spiritual, energetic beings having this human experience. So anything that we can do to like amplify that spiritual, energetic side of us, I think is very helpful because it does process in the physical body. So that's really important to me. I also love, like we were talking about before, like dream boards, like visual things. So I have the 2 different dream boards, but then I'll also write little like little sticky notes and put them like around my home. So like in my mirror, in the bathroom, or like on the fridge, things like that. And I also have these love jars is what I call them. So a few of them. There's one for myself. There's one that my husband has that we write to each other. And then we have one like a family jar too, where we'll just write down a little love note or whatever we want to on a little piece of paper and drop it in the jar. And then we can go back later and read it. So sometimes we'll leave each other like a surprise one, like for my husband and I or my kids and I. Sometimes I'll just write something down for myself, and then I'll just go through and later on pick it up and find it again. And it just always comes at the most divine time. So love jars are huge and they're so fun to do.
I love it.
Right? Like just yourself or with your partner or family. It's wonderful. Another thing, what are some more things that I like to do? Definitely working with a coach. Like I work with coaches. That's been a huge thing for my life, especially like different coaches as well, because I like to learn like as much as possible. So I'm constantly learning and I'm always a student, and I love developing like different parts of my brain and my psyche and reading all the books. Like definitely there's so many books out there that you can get. There's so many like different things you can read up about online that don't cost any money too. Like if you're looking to start somewhere like on a budget, there's always places to go online as well and learn. What are some other tools I have in my toolkit? There's always more. Oh, affirmations, definitely affirmations.
Mhm.
Huge. I practice them in the morning, like it just as I'm laying there before I get up in the morning. And
Yes.
priming too. There's I'm sure you're familiar with Tony Robbins. He's got a
Yep.
great website, a link. It's tonyrobbins.com/priming, which is wonderful. You can go on there and it explains what priming is and how you can take time, just like 8-10 minutes every morning before you start your day, and literally prime your mind, your mindset,
I
and your
love that.
body to get into this positive space.
Yep.
So powerful. Like that definitely changed my life. I do it every day. I do it with my kids. Practicing gratitude, giving thanks. So important. Even when
Mhm.
things are going not so great, there's always a lesson or a silver lining to be found, and that's what I tend to focus on. Even if it's
Mhm.
like a 1% chance that this is gonna turn out right, that's where my eyes go. I
Right.
can honor the 99, and sure, you're there. I get it. Like let that pass through, but I'm staying focused on this 1% here. And
Mhm.
um, huge for me is exercise, getting those positive endorphins flowing through the veins, eating well,
Yep.
eating clean, but
Mhm.
also not denying self. Like I love chocolate and sweets and pizza.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
all these things too,
Don't
right?
forget Thai food. Well, I don't know
Thai
if Thai
food.
is for you,
Oh,
but oh,
it is
yum.
for me. Yeah. Oh, I love Thai food. Absolutely. And then reaching out to community. Like, I think that's so
Yep.
huge. It's something that sometimes we're scared to do. We feel like we can just go it all alone and do it
Right.
ourselves. But for me, leaning into the community, friends, family, or even strangers online, like I found this incredible tribe. Just, when we talk about our things online, people naturally are drawn to us. And I think that's
Mhm.
really a big blessing, especially after these last couple of years, is
Yes.
the people that we have attracted by sharing what we do, and then realizing like, oh, I'm going through that too. And it's so sacred to me to be able to connect with new people that are of like-minded individuals, and just wanting to spread that love and share truth and grow together and link arms in community and raise the collective consciousness as one. It's just, I could go on and on, Martine. I don't want
No,
to
no,
take up
no.
all of your time, but there's
No, this is
always more.
perfect. And, I totally agree with you too. And it's like we have a choice every day when we get up in the morning,
Mhm.
you know? And, a lot of people, like, we're not that old yet, but it's still just be grateful that you woke up this morning, right?
Totally.
Because things could happen. It doesn't matter what age you are.
Mhm.
Something could happen. Your heart could stop. You don't know what could happen.
Mhm.
And it's just starting out with gratitude. And I haven't heard of the Tony Robbins and the priming, but I am going to look at that because I totally believe in starting your day out right. I am like you too. I get my butt out there first thing, exercise, whether it's walking, running, weights. I do something every day, and then gratitude and affirmations and really paying attention to the goodness in life, because even sometimes if it's the smallest little thing, there's always something to be grateful for, even in the midst of a situation, you know
Absolutely.
so yeah. So we have about a minute left. What is your last little bit of wisdom for everybody, and where can they find you?
Oh, thank you so much. This has been such an honor for me to share this space with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I always love to leave people with a saying that I say to my kids. It's something that I teach my
Mhm.
children. It's always leave people, places, and things better than before you came. I think it's an
Yes.
all-encompassing great piece of advice, and I think if
Mhm.
we all practice that, we really can't go wrong within those bounds. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm happy to connect with new people online. You can find me on my website, KrystaLee.com, and
Yes.
all of my social handles are there. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the things, YouTube, and would be so happy and honored to connect with new people.
That's wonderful. I love that. And yeah, and just like we've been talking about, the more people that we connect and share stories with, the better that life can be, especially in these times. Like
Yeah.
we were talking about on the break, not all of us, and especially Krysta being in Canada, things are just opening up there, whereas we've been
Mhm.
open a little bit longer, but there's
Mhm.
still, there's still that air of keep your distance kind of thing.
Totally.
So yeah, so any way that we connect and help each other and share stories, the better off that we all are.
Yes, I love that so
Yeah,
much. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you so much, Krysta. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here, and maybe we'll do it again soon.
Thank you. you so much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. And thank you again, everybody, so much for watching. And we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Transformation with Martine. Did listening today spark a sense of hope and possibility? Hold on to this feeling and tune in every second and fourth Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific for more inspiring conversations with Martine and her guests. They will show you there is hope, and you are right where you need to be. Martine is dedicated to supporting you right where you are while launching you towards promise, passion, and possibility that leads to the fulfilled life your heart aches for. If you're tired of being stuck, schedule a complimentary consultation with Martine and get on the exciting path towards the life you want to be living. Visit martineemmons.com and make your appointment today.